because they're vulnerable. Yeah. So instead of the money going out to the people, it goes out. Someone will prefer to give the money to their family, educate their children, and live well. Yeah.
Were you a print journalist or a new TV journalist?
Both. So I started my internship as a TV reporter with KTN, but I went into print journalism because I found the news reports too short. Like I would be out in the field the whole day, but then they would only do 2 minutes of a clip. So I transferred from media, from TV to print. So I was a print journalist. A lot of my works are online, Omwa Ombara. Yeah, so I've written for Nation, Standard, African Women and Child. I've written for The Hague Trials, Kenya. Yeah. So I was a journalist for about 14 to 15 years before I came here. And I've been here for 5 years, so I still do some freelance writing online, but it's not as effective as, like, we don't have a very big audience. Yeah, but I'm trying to kind of resuscitate my writing. Yeah.
I know some very non-corrupt Kenyans who are quite outraged with what's going on in Kenya at the moment. There's a lot of them. Very bright, very well educated.
Yes, there's a lot of Kenyans who are all outraged, but what can they do? Because the freedoms are kind of, there isn't as much freedom. There's no freedom of speech. There's no freedom of expression. So you speak your mind and you're going to be locked up. But it does not mean that everybody in the country is corrupt. It doesn't mean that every journalist is corrupt. And one thing I also did not mention was the reason I got into all this was because of an article, an interview that I did about corruption, because I refused to take money from the politicians. So when one of the reporters was doing an investigative piece about journalists in Kenya, Uganda, and Tanzanian corruption, because most journalists have to take what you call the brown envelope. Like you're given a brown envelope with money in it to do a story. So when we went to cover an event, and I was the bureau chief, one of the campaigners, one of the members of parliament, who is now the vice president of Kenya, was giving out money in public at a rally to journalists, and I tried to stop it. And it became a big deal. I said, you can't give money to journalists. And the journalists, some of them were like, why are you interfering with us? We are the ones who want to make money. If you feel you have enough money, just keep off, But I suspended 2 of the journalists in my office, and that caused me some trouble, because they went to the politician and said I had caused them to lose their jobs. So I was ordered by my bosses to bring them back. But you see, they had taken the money. So if someone is corrupt and you're the boss in the office, and you suspend them, and then the bosses ahead say bring them back, how do you work with them? You see. So there's corruption across the country, but not everybody is corrupt. But there's no voice strong enough to stop it. So as a country, we still have to go back to the drawing board and find ways. We need voices of courage. We need people who are courageous. We need people who can make sacrifices and say, even if I'm to die for this, change must come. And that's one of the sacrifices I agreed to make. I said, if I am to speak about corruption, if I'm to speak about the wrongs that the president are doing, and the corrections that need to be done, I'm going to do it at whatever it costs, because somebody must speak. Because silence is equal to death. We keep saying that every day. Silence when everything is going wrong. Silence when women are being raped. Silence when people are being murdered. Silence when money that has been borrowed from foreign countries is going into personal pockets is equals to death. Because that's a dead society, because they can't live up to their full potential. Yeah.
Could you say something about the culture of different tribes? You said there were multiple tribes.
Yeah, about 43.
Are each of them governed by people?
Okay.
And how are they governed? And I understand there are multiple different languages.
Okay.
I have no idea about how this works.
Okay, so Wanjiru Susan has been to Kenya, but we have 43 tribes, and that means we speak, I'll say 44 now, because they just added the Indian tribe, Asians who came to Kenya long ago. So each tribe speaks a different language. They don't speak English. So we have the Kikuyu, the Luos, the Kalenjins, Luhias, Kisis, so many different tribes. The Taitas, the Pokomos. So each one speaks a different language. So if I met a Kikuyu right now, I will not understand what they're saying. Because we come from different parts of the country. Some people come from the coast, so they speak the coastal language. They speak Swahili, Taita, Giriama. They speak we call it the mother tongue, the local dialect there. When you leave the coast, which is where the ocean is and the beach, you come over, because we have different landscapes, then you come over to the mountains. So the people of the mountains speak the language of the mountains. They speak Kikuyu, they speak Meru, they speak some other languages. The Kambas speak their own language. I come from the lake, and I grew up all my life eating fish. Fish for breakfast, fish for lunch, fish for dinner. So the people from the other side, they eat potatoes, because that's what's there. They eat beans and maize. So I speak Luo, which is a different language. When you go down the western side, there are the Luhias. They speak Luhia. But now when we go to school, they make us speak two languages. We have two national languages in Kenya, so Kiswahili and English, so that when you meet other people, you are able to share one language. Yeah, but when you go back to your home, you speak your own language. So we have different cultures. The Luos circumcise, I mentioned to a few people here, the Luos we don't now, we used to remove the 6 lower teeth as a sign of growing into manhood or womanhood. And the other tribes circumcise their men and women, but now there's prejudices. So the people who circumcise, we don't circumcise in my community. So they say the people who do not circumcise are weak, too weak to lead. And I mentioned that in my book, that if you're not circumcised, you come from a community that does not circumcise, we cannot vote for you because you haven't faced manhood. You're not strong enough to lead. Yeah. And then the other people will not vote. We, the Luos now, will not vote for them because they've criticized us, they've despised us, they're prejudiced. So we're not giving them our vote. So there are little things that can be resolved, and I don't know why they have not been resolved. But it's so ingrained.
Do the tribes have different government structures within them?
Yeah, so now we have a decentralized system of government. Before we had only one government, but now we have something called the counties. So we have 8 counties. So we have local governments.
And there's tribes.
Yeah, so the Luos have their county, and the Kakamega as their country, and the Central as their county. So it's still not helping much because we want to grab as much as we can. So there's no way that I'm going to be a governor in Central Province. I just have to be voted in by my people. You see, yeah, because the person from my area won't be voted in the other county. Yeah, but they're all members of parliament. So every member of parliament from different areas, and then we have the Senate. Yeah, so when they go in vote, the members of parliament will also just vote from their tribes, even on a serious national agenda. Yeah.
What I would like you to do is tell us your contact information so that they can get a copy of your book.
Oh, so thank you for this opportunity. The contact for my contact information is 267. That's my phone number. 267 844 3542. I have cards which I can give you. I have enough cards. 267 844 3542. And my name is Omwa, 4 letters, OWMA, Omwa Ombara. And my Gmail is gojournalist2514, gojournalist2514 @gmail.com. Yes. So I live in Philly right now. Yeah.
If there are no further questions.
Put this in there.
Just one.
One question here.
Just one question I had is, when the British came to Kenya, were there such things as land titles? I assume no, that there weren't like something written on paper that says, I own this.
They did.
They did have land titles?
They did. They had land titles. And several attorneys from Kenya went to the British, and the case has been going on, and some people got their land back. But only those who could afford the attorneys. Some people haven't had their land back up to now.
Okay.
Yeah, but they've been trying to return the land back. The British Army also went to some parts of Samburu and raped the women there, and half the children there, half the village are half white.
Very good.
Yeah, and they don't speak English. And then when the women took them to court, they said that was a lie. The women had created the story. But when you see the children, you see the evidence, it's online. They are British kids. Some have blue eyes and green eyes. Yeah, which is not in our African pigmentation. Yeah.
I don't want to endanger your safety as an asylee or compromise your status. How would you describe the United States administration's role in helping or making things worse in Kenya?
Oh, I'm not afraid to be deported if I spoke the truth, though that's not the reason why I'm here. Once you stand with the truth, you always have to stand with the truth. As I said, silence is equals to death. So one of the reasons why the international criminal indictment against my president and vice president failed was because the Western world, which is the US and other United Nations, supported my president and vice president, because the US has vested interest in Kenya. The US Embassy is one of the biggest bodies in the whole of Africa. We have the USAID, we have the UNEP, United Nations Environmental Program. There's a lot of, and we have the US Navy bases in Mombasa and Nairobi. So there's no way that they would want a change of regime or an instability to happen. Yeah. So we do see some, like when I came here as an asylee, I was very angry with what had happened, and I was very angry that the people who were indicted for crimes against humanity had been acquitted. But I saw them visit the president here, and they were like very cordial, and I was like, what does this mean for me? If a president of a country I had run away from can have such a cordial relationship, and then the president here, I think then it was Obama, and even now it's Trump. Yeah, Obama went to visit my president. President Obama comes from, his father comes from my country. So in fact, his father comes from my community. His father is a Luo like me, although we don't know each other. But when that happens, then you wonder, like, why can't the system here find out if these people have been charged with crimes against humanity? Why do they have a visa to the US? Because then they could be a danger to people here as well. Yeah. So it's been hard, because the US used to be seen as like a superpower, which it still may be. And we thought that this was the land of dreams and opportunities, which is still true. But when I left Kenya, coming here as an asylum, I came thinking I'd flee from justice. And I was coming into a country where there was justice, just to start finding other injustices. So no country is perfect. Every country has things to learn from each other. You'll find, as Wanjiru has been, you'll find some beautiful parts of Kenya and some cultures and some people you really love. And you'll also find some systems that work here in the US. Like, you can't come here and start killing people. And you cannot burn your neighbor's house because Hillary did not win elections. So there's some systems here that still work in spite of everything. It may not be perfect, but you can express yourself. I can say how I feel about Trump. And I was saying in my speech the other day, I felt frustrated because when President Trump started tweeting some stuff, I wanted to call and ask him, why did you do that? But I can't because I'm a guest of the state, yeah. But all in all, there's a kind of a freedom that we can sit here and discuss this. We cannot do this in Kenya, because you just criticize the president and you're locked up, or at worst, you're murdered. Yeah. I hope I've not made the room dull, but it's just a story that happened.
I'm very glad you weren't murdered. Thank you very much for staying alive. Yes.
Yeah, keeping it positive has helped. Just living in the moment and appreciating and moving forward than dwelling in the past. Because if I dwell in the past, I'll be frustrated and I'll be very sad. But what I'm at, where I am at right now, is what can I do to make a difference? Like, where can my journey take me now? Not where I've been, but where I'm heading. Can I still make a difference? Because the world is now a global village. We are digitalized. Can I use my voice, use my language, use whatever they've trained me to write to make a difference? Yeah.
I recently, in fact still doing it, I'm watching a movie called The Throne, which is the history